Hello, Rob Ryan Red on YouTube. New content for you on YouTube. YouTube exclusive, not in the podcast this week. We thought we would do our League Two 1 to 24 predictions, mainly because we thought in May we'd look a bit silly and we could have a laugh and see how we got on. Rich, did you want to do this? I feel like I've maybe forced you against your will to do it. But we both have our 1 to 24s, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think it's an exercise that can only end badly, but it's all in good fun. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on League Two already.
No.
We're new to these surroundings. It's been 15 years since we were in the Football League, so I've had to sort of educate myself on who's there. There's maybe some controversial picks, some controversial decisions, but yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm looking forward already to the end of the season, like you said, where we can see just how horribly wrong we all were on these predictions.
I'm looking forward to the comments telling us how terribly wrong we are and how their club is, the greatest club on planet Earth. Because we did if you've watched the YouTube videos before, we did a 10 games that we thought would define the season, and a lot of Doncaster fans and a lot of Mansfield fans were getting in touch there that we didn't. I don't think we picked Mansfield, and somebody said we were kind of sleeping a little bit on Doncaster. So I'm sure this will cause an absolute hoot. So the way it's gonna work, the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna go through from bottom to top. Give a kind of short take on why we think that team's there, whether we don't know much about that team, and that's why we've slotted them in. And you let us know your 1 to 24s on Twitter at Rob Ryan Red, or you can find all the socials on the YouTube page, and also listen to the podcast. This week's podcast, the EFL season preview with Humphrey Carr, Wrexham executive, and one of the MK Dons podcasters came on to chat as well. So go and listen to that on all platforms. But without further ado, Rich, let's get into our picks. Would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first with pick number 24, going down to the Vanarama National League?
Yeah, I think that's probably the safest one to start with, isn't it? So I don't mind fronting up on
You,
this
you,
one and owning it. So
UT is off then. So 24th in League Two, 2023-2024 is going to be who?
I think Harrogate Town, just because they're a team who, big shock when they actually got promoted. Fair play to them, fantastic story. Did really well. They just look like they might have overspent their time now in the Football League. Really difficult for them to sort of compete financially. They don't have a squad that you'd maybe say is sort of pulling up too many trees. It's going to be a really competitive division next season. I just think that Harrogate are going to be one of the teams really struggling, and I think they probably will get relegated if I was to bet on it now. Not that I'm going to, but yeah, for me, I think Harrogate will definitely be near the bottom, and I've actually put them to be rock bottom.
Yeah, okay. I mean that's a solid pick and I think a popular pick. Simon Weaver, is as you said punching above his weight with the resources he's got. And look, League Two is very competitive. We're going to get to the top end, and there'll be a lot of people that are disappointed that we haven't maybe put them as a promotion or a playoff team. There are lots. We could have gone with a handful of others. Harrogate definitely not in that mix for me either. But my 24th pick for the League Two 2023-24 season is Crawley Town. Couple of reasons. They've essentially got rid of all the popular players, which is never a recipe for success. Ashley Nadeson is one that springs to mind. I think James Tiley is another that it was popular. Fans wanted him to stay. He's gone, and there are countless others. The ownership group there, is it WAGMI, kind of crypto, NFTs, and all that, seem to make a myriad of odd decisions, and I think this will be one odd decision too far. And in a league stacked with quality, I've got Crawley Town as my 24th team, rock bottom of League Two, heading into the National League. So go on, Rich. Then, so you've got one, you've got Harrogate, I've got Crawley. Are we flipping those round on
I
our
think we have
23rd
done,
picks?
haven't we? Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. It gets us up the table nice and quickly. But yeah, I think those two teams certainly would be in the sort of relegation dogfight. And I don't think this is going to be sort of those two cut well adrift. I think there is maybe towards the bottoms a lot of teams who are in a similar sort of pool where they maybe just lack the money, they lack the investment, they don't have the best squads anyway, they've lost key players, some of them might have not have the best managers, some of them have had to sort of rely on non-league recruitment, which we know firsthand isn't always the recipe for success. There's certainly some gems there, but yeah, I think we flipped over for the relegation zones anyway. And then should we get through a few going up the table? Do you
Yeah.
reckon? Sort of
So
three or
so
four.
so who have you got then? Give us your 20, 21, and 22. They're probably in that relegation scrap, but survive in the end.
Yeah, and again, I'd say these will probably be quite interchangeable throughout the season, and I
Definitely.
think they'll all be in these sort of areas, but maybe not in the order put. But I've gone 22nd Sutton United, team we
Right.
know from the non-league era. Again, a team who's punched above their weight, just find it difficult now to establish themselves as a long-term EFL club, as we've seen quite often with some of these teams who do get promoted. They can have a few seasons, but it is so difficult, and you're in danger of treading water really in League Two and slipping under. Newport County, who they've had some fantastic campaigns in League Two. They've got very close to promotion a few times. They've had those fantastic cup runs, but just feels like everything's sort of come to an end there, and they are another team who are just sort of getting by, not doing too much. You wouldn't expect them to sort of pull up trees next season. And I've put Colchester United as well in amongst that mix. Like I said, another team who are established in the context of the Football League, but a team who haven't had too much going for them really
No.
in the last few
They've
years.
they've
And
they've struggled badly, didn't they, last year? And I mean, this is what I've gone with. So I've gone as 22nd. I've gone Morecambe. I just think of all the kind of teams that come down. I know. Forest Green were the worst team, weren't they? Just a mess, basically, in League One. But I just think with Morecambe, uncertainty off the pitch there. I just look at that squad and it just doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. There are players elsewhere that I think I'd love for Wrexham to have. That not many of those are at Morecambe. Morecambe are struggling for me. Then I've got Colchester again. I just think they haven't really built on. I've seen some say that they may finish comfortably mid-table, and maybe they will. But for me, when I was going through, they were ones that I was
well,
quickly
yeah, I
putting
think
in
Colchester
pen.
finally sort of feel like they've cut away some of the players that they didn't want in the past. There's maybe a bit
Right,
of a
right,
fresh start there, and they're a team who are maybe feel they've got a fresh sort of lease of life. And I think they're a team who, of course, there's got to be so much attention at the bigger teams in League Two that, I mean, Phil Parkinson knows what a big club Colchester can be when everything's going the right
right.
ways, isn't he? And
And Rich as well. I mean, look at last season in League Two. Stevenage the season before was scrapping for relegation, and they end up getting automatic promotion the season later. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Colchester, but it is when you do survive the worst drop that we've known in going to the National League. You can get that new lease of life, and maybe we'll see. I mean, Colchester away is an interesting one. I'm looking forward to going there. So I've got Colchester in 21st, and I've got Newport County. Similarly to you, I've got them 20th. You've got them 21st. Newport, for me, I just look at it and go, where are the goals coming from? We spoke on the podcast this week about without Mullin, we still believe we've got a lot of options that can get us goals. I look at Omar Bogle and I just think if he doesn't light it up, which he can, very capable of doing so, I do look at that team and it looks light on goals. They haven't got the
yeah.
financial resources that Wrexham have got and other teams,
Well, I
Bradford,
don't want to be
Mansfield.
too disparaging here, but if you look at the quality last season and you look at the players who arrived this season, I actually don't even think Omar Bogle will be a particularly exciting National League striker signing at the moment.
No,
Considering you've got Will Grigg there, you've got Norwood there. Last season you had Langstaff and Mullin. I think he would sort of be a National League playoff striker. And I know we've always spoken about, anyone who's listened to our podcast over the last couple of seasons, please make sure to subscribe if you don't already. We'll know that the quality in National League is so high, and we all believe it is higher than the lower echelons of League Two, really. And I think it does show when you look through some of these squads that if some of these players, and I'm talking about starters now, drop down to the National League, you wouldn't necessarily say they'd be playing for the very top teams. You'd be saying they're sort of the playoff and even some of the mid-table teams. And yeah, I think it is just maybe we're in for the harsh reality check, and we'll get very cocky because neither of us have mentioned Wrexham yet. But I do just feel that some of these players could drop down to the National League, and it wouldn't be that noticeable a difference.
right. So we've kind of given our bottom five there. That usually, like Rich said, I'm not sure they'll be cut or drip, but usually there's one absolute basket case team, the one who finishes just inside the relegation in that second spot. Usually they just miss out. Like Hartlepool, I think they just don't quite get enough points, 3 points in it, something like that. bottom five's usually pretty interchangeable, running right deep into the season. Now we're kind of looking at teams that maybe didn't have a great season, but we're pulling away a bit. So we're looking now, Rich, at where are we looking now? 19, 18, 17. If you give us those three.
Yeah, I've got Morecambe in there. Again, similar reasons to you said. They just feel to be on a downward spiral at the moment. It's difficult to see that stopping anytime soon, really. Again, all the reasons that you gave. Wimbledon, who, quite frankly, just haven't been the same team since Ollie Palmer left. The
Right.
relegation, what was it? They didn't win a game after he joined Wrexham in January 2021, was that? Yeah.
I think so,
2022?
yeah, right.
I can't
2022,
remember. Yeah.
2022, right, right.
So after Wrexham signed Ollie Palmer, they didn't win another league game between then and the end of the season. Obviously, got relegated. They've had a tough time since then. Fantastic club, fantastic to see them. Back where they belong and playing the football league, and they are a feel good story. But money talks, doesn't it, in League Two? And right now they just don't seem to be able to compete with any of that. And then just above them, I've gone for Dean Keats's old side at Walsall, who are one of those teams that to be honest, Walsall are a team that they could finish anywhere between
Right,
10th and 24th
right.
for me.
I honestly could have put Walsall anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
I could have just dartboarded them. They could be a team that, if it all comes together, they could be the surprise package, the dark horse. But if they finished rock bottom, I honestly don't think I'd be surprised either way. I think if they maybe got top three, I'd be surprised. But anything outside of that, I don't think would catch me on the hop. Really, look, we're self-confessed. So many of these teams, we just don't know. I mean, you've already put Sutton in there. I mean, for me, I've gone 19th Sutton, Amari Patrick there now, who we had for a short while, and look, the business. I like Amari Patrick a lot. And there'll be a team, Rich, that just thrive on set pieces. Matt Gray's still there. I'm sure he'll be in demand, and he's got them really well drilled. They've got pieces that are just effective, and Gander Green Lane is not a place. I mean, we'll see how they get on with Notts County on the opening day. I think there's a little bit more optimism in Sutton circles than we've got, and that's really interesting for me when I see that online. But I've got them 19. I've got Walsall 18, as I said. And then I've got the team that's lived very close to where you are right now, Accrington Stanley. It's tough because I think they've had, is it the first relegation of the John Coleman era? A real disappointment because they were punched above their weight for a long time. I think that's probably one that I'm going to come back to, seeing them 17th and probably regret, because I think they're probably not going to flame out that badly. They're always well run. They
Yeah.
recruit well, but I've
And
got
that's the whole
Accrington
reason they got
17th.
promoted in the first place to League One, wasn't it? That they
Right.
were so well run, and was it they were having the pizzas bought for them after every time they won a game? There's a real feel good factor, and I do think that this has got a caveat that overall table, we look at it, we just know for a fact there'll be one team who just aren't getting their flowers at the moment, who are just
100%.
gonna be really well run, have really good vibes, real good camaraderie, get some wins under the belt early doors, maybe have a breakthrough player no one was expecting to shine, and they will be right up there. Maybe get promoted, definitely be in the playoff mix, and it could be any of the teams we've mentioned already. That is what is so exciting about this League Two season heading up. But I suppose, Nate, heading up takes us towards mid-table as well, doesn't it? And again, these are teams who very much interchangeable. I've gone local. I've gone very northwest for. Should I say for my next four teams? Really?
Yeah, go for your next four.
Well, in fact, the next five are all local for us.
Well,
In
go
a
for
way,
them. Go for your next five, and I'll give you my five.
Yeah, I've gone Tranmere, Crewe, Barrow, Accrington, and Salford. So yeah, some very good away days there. But I think all of them are very, like I said, sort of interchangeable in that regard. That I still don't think any of those teams quite have the overall squad strength to compete with the teams I'd expect to be in the playoffs.
Rich, I mean,
But
Salford's an interesting one. If I pick you up on that one, because again, we've gone over some of them. Accrington, my reasons. Crew, great away day. Are they going to have enough? I think they're losing their main forward, Dan Aggie. I think they're losing him. He looks like, if he's not already gone, he looks like he's on the way out. That's a massive blow. Tranmere, I just don't want to put them too high. I mean, I've got them a little bit higher than you have. Salford, what's the thinking there? Neil Wood, obviously you're familiar with from his days at United. I mean, some top level managers at this level now, up for higher up. Mark Hughes, Nigel Clough, Phil Parkinson. What do you think, Neil Woods? Because it does seem like they've got a little bit more optimism this year than they have had, because they've been that big fish with the cash, and now maybe they're kind of going under the radar a little bit. I think they might be a bit more dangerous than we're giving them credit for.
Yeah, I've seen them tipped by some to get automatic promotion.
Wow.
It's a difficult one. I mean, obviously, anyone who's followed the Wrexham Twitter sort of live for a while know I did have quite a public falling out with Salford City once, actually, in which they phoned the Manchester Evening News desk threatening to block us from ever reporting on the club again. So
Wow.
maybe there's a bit of spite there. Who knows? I'm not saying that it's inspired it whatsoever.
I'd completely forgotten. I'd completely forgotten about your bust up with Salford City. There you
Yeah,
go.
Neil Wood is a great guy, really nice, down to earth. Spoke to him a lot, worked on a lot of United youth games when he was there. He seems to have done a good job. He's recruited well. During his time there, he's got some. It seems like he has got a good bunch there, and obviously, they are a team that you can't ever sort of take for granted because they have still got a lot of financial backing. They still have, a lot of positivity around the place, and they're doing a real good thing really for the area in particular. But yeah, I think it's just me maybe being petty to a degree because
I think on
I don't
Salford,
want them to go up.
what I'll say on Salford as well. I think Elliot Watt in midfield could. I mean, he's got the caliber of someone who could be League Two Player of the Season. So if you have a team that has someone like that, you're always going to have a chance. I mean, I think we'll probably end up with the better Elliot in Elliot Lee. We're going to hope in midfield. But Elliot Watt, not to be sniffed at for a very, very good player. Let me go through my five. So then you went from 16th upwards. I've got 16th AFC Wimbledon, who Wrexham play in their first away game of the season. I've got 15th Crew Alexandra. 14th I've got Forest Green. Now, they've moved on from Duncan Ferguson. New manager. There was that whole furore of the female interim caretaker manager, and Dale Vince, and how distracting is he? And they had Charlie Savage. He's now at Reading but can't play for Reading. There's all that fiasco. It's not one for us to get into right now. Forest Green, I just think they need to recover. They're in recovery mode rather than
Yeah, season consolidation maybe.
yeah.
So,
I think similar to Atkinson, I think MK Dons are the one that you'll see in my prediction. I think they're the one that can kind of really go for it and try and do that immediate bounce back. So yeah, Forest Green's me in 14th. And then I have got Tranmere in 13th and Swindon Town in 12th. Charlie Austin at Swindon Town. I mean, it's funny when you interview Charlie Austin. He's such a good talker for the media. He's very brash and very forthright in his thoughts. I mean, ultimately, he knows where the goal is. And having been to Swindon, it is like an old-fashioned ground. It is a good crowd there, good atmosphere. I think they'll be a tough out. I mean, they might not win all the games. I mean, I've got missing out on the playoffs, but I don't think that'll be an easy place to go. Wrexham going there on Boxing Day, I think that'll be a really, really tough test. And I'm trying to think of Swindon. I mean, last time I went to Swindon, was Tyler Reid there that Wrexham once had on the books, or we'd taken off them. But yeah, I think they'll have enough pieces to win more games than they lose. Definitely, we're getting close to the playoffs now.
we're getting close. We're going with the teams that just miss out then.
Just
The
miss
next
out all the
four.
way up, all the way up to the playoff agony.
And I think this will be very tight. This is again maybe why I put Salford so low because I think there'll be like 2 points between all these teams. I think it'll be really, really tight and close for the playoffs. I'm going with Swindon myself, similar to you. I think it's a real difficult place to go. Charlie Austin, yes, his legs might have gone to a degree, but he scored goals galore. Was it the game last season against Rochdale? 4-4. He scored all 4 goals for Swindon. Right. He's a player who, on his day, could terrorise any defence. Doncaster, I've gone next to, massive team for this level. I think I'm really excited to watch those both games. I'm really hoping I can get to that away one. Forest Green, similar to you, I think it will be a season of consolidation to a degree, but I still think they're a quality team who, I think any team who gets relegated is such an unknown quantity, aren't they? Because you're not
right.
sure what to expect. But Forest Green still have, that financial backing. They still got, historically they have recruited really well. That is a key part of why they've gone up the leagues as well. It's not just spending money, it's spending it properly, and they always seem to have done that. And just missing out on the playoffs, I've put Mansfield Town as well. Another team who I've seen tipped to finish very high elsewhere. Nigel Clough, fantastic manager for this level. One of many, though, isn't he? And yeah, it's got to be interesting to see see how they cope. But right now, I've got them just missing out on the playoffs.
Oh, so we've got a couple of differences there. You've got Forest Green. I'd say that might be the biggest gap. Probably them and Accrington are the biggest gaps on us
I
so
think
far. You can
Mansfield were
see.
the joint top goal scorers last season, but had a bad
Yeah,
defence. And if
yeah.
if they can sort that out, then
They just missed out on the playoffs. I thought they were going to make the playoffs in the end. Just missed out. You can see obviously our tables on screen updating in real time. So here, who have I got? I've got Salford City. Yeah, again, I don't know whether it's just because I don't want them to do well or what. They'll be there. They'll be in and around. I mean, they were a playoff team last season, lost in the playoff semi final to Stockport. Like I say, I'm a big fan of Elliot Watt. I think he's he'll be one of my favourite players to watch this season. I've then got Barrow. Barrow, Pete Wild, and where Billy Waters come from for us. They've made some quite shrewd additions, and I think they might be that team that really sort of upset the apple cart in terms of the big spenders. There's the obvious candidates that we're going to have high up, but Barrow, I've got them just missing out on the playoffs, but I think they'll be a top 10 team for sure, whether they might be a bit higher than what I've got them in 10th. I've then got Mansfield Town, linked today when we're recording this with Aidan Flint. I mean, that would be a fabulous move. And Nigel Clough, I think, is just a very seasoned campaigner, been at a higher level. Mansfield, as we know, and as Joss Myabi knows, if you're a long time listening Wrexham fan, not the easiest place in the world to go when it's windy and rainy. And then I've just got missing out on the playoffs. I might come to regret this one as well. Doncaster, Grant McCann. I thought that was a really ambitious appointment, and was one that was a sign of we're going to go for this and we're going to swing the punches and trade blow for blow. I like Joe Ironside as a pickup there. I think he adds a lot there. Richard Wood, I think, is not the youngest lad in the world, but I think he's a solid acquisition. Jamie Sterry, I think, and again, I think he's a solid pickup. So they've just consistently made good pieces of recruitment. And while Wrexham maybe haven't done that, we'd already done that in the seasons prior, building this squad out. But Doncaster, they had a poor season, and I think they'll be significantly improved. Whether that's enough to get in the playoffs, I don't think it will be, based on this preseason prediction. But I've got them eighth. So now you got the big uns. Now you got four playoff teams, Rich, that we think
yeah,
are going to be there, up there, win a lot more games than they lose, but not in those desired top three spots. So who have you got then? In reverse order, seventh to fourth. Who do you think is going to be in the playoff mix?
I've got MK Dons. I just think
Ooh.
they've obviously got the quality. They're a very big side for this level still. There's just so many question marks I think around them at the moment. They're still very very difficult one to sort of gauge where they're really up to. Of course, there's the Graham Alexander factor as well, who last trip to the race course lost 5-1 on Boxing Day. That famous.
Yeah,
Well, it would
yeah,
have been the Salford City gate, wouldn't it? So it all comes
right.
full circle here for us. I've then gone Grimsby, who I think are probably maybe the dark horses, if you want to call one side
Yeah,
of them. Their recruitment just looks really, really good. You saw the cup run last season. They've got a lot of forward momentum. Another massive club, really well supported. I really like what they're building there. To be honest, I think they're really exciting. I like the way that they play football. Fifth, Notts County. Have you ever heard of them? I couldn't bring myself to put them above us. I know they've recruited really well this summer again, and they do look pretty frightening, don't they?
yeah,
But we finished above them last season. We've got that nous where like I said, we're not the fourth team on my list either. So I'm hoping that we can finish ahead of them once again. And fourth, I've got Gillingham, who I think since they had the takeover were the second best informed team in League Two last
yeah.
season.
They've
They
been very good.
really turned it all around. Again, a lot of money, a lot of financial backing, a lot of good recruitment as well. And I basically look from sort of Notts County up. These teams are teams who don't only have the financial muscle to compete with Wrexham, but they've also got a lot of positivity and a really good project for players to join as well. I know that Wrexham quite often will trump all of that, but I think there's some really good and close competitors there. And yeah, I'm quite worried when I look at the table about how many good teams there are in League Two.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe being a little bit starry-eyed towards the managers that we're seeing at this level. That some really, really top-level managers, and my picks are essentially being guided by the managers I have the most faith in, not just in terms of their recruitment, but their tactics, their ability to change tactics, their ability to make maneuvers during the season, and just the experience of long seasons. So for me, I've got Grimsby in the playoffs. Paul Hurst, I think, is a top manager. I mean, he did a job on us that famous game at the Racecourse 5-4. Um, he is a top level, and they've made some really smart additions as well. Grimsby Blunder Park is not an easy place to go, and that will be a tough out for a lot of teams. I've then got Gillingham just ahead. We know Johnny Williams has gone to Gillingham. Some talk that Macaulay Bonne is training at Gillingham right now. They missed out on Alfie May. They're ambitious. Those American owners there, they are ambitious, and they all want to do well. They're in a great catchment area in terms of getting players just outside of London or those London clubs. They'll be in a good spot, specifically with recruitment, and we'll see. Neil Harris, I think he's been at a far higher level, been in the Championship. So let's see how he gets on, because he's a good manager that doesn't want to be rooting around in League Two for too long. He's finally got the resources to help him get out of the league. I think they'll be right up there. I've then got Bradford City, fifth, Mark Hughes, Sparky. Look, when you're keeping Andy Cook, top goal scorer in League Two last season, you're always going to have a great chance. Valley Parade, I think Bradford fans will probably be this season's attendance police. I'm sure they're going to be reminding everybody of how poor their attendance is or how good it is. Probably not how good it is, probably how poor it is. Um, they're trying to rebuild. They haven't ripped it up and gone again. Mark Hughes. Be interesting if he makes a poor start. If they make a poor start, will he be under pressure? But when you've got a player like Andy Cook that I know can get you 25 plus goals, I mean, I'm not going to bet against them being outside that top five, which I've got them. And then fourth, similarly to you, I mean, this lot could win the league, and I wouldn't be shocked. Notts County, David McGoldrick, Macaulay Langstaff. Yes, they've lost Ruben Rodriguez. I mean, McGoldrick should score goals for fun. Derby didn't want to lose him. They've kept Aaron the man. They've kept Chickson on the other side. Matty Palmer, I think in the midfield, I really like. Big fan of him. John Bostock, another season with him. They've kept a lot of the players that they wanted. Kept back Langstaff, so that's the key. How will he get on? And look, if he goes and tears it up again, there's no way he'll be with Notts in League One if they go up. It'll be bottom half of the Prem or top of the Championship if he goes on another tear this season. So I think a lot of people are interested in looking at him. How's he going to get on? Is it a one-season wonder? Can he do a Jamie Vardy type? We've seen Barnsley in League One go and get Andy Dallas recently. He was at Chesterfield before that, Solihull Moors. So clubs are looking at these players coming out of non-league. So I've got Notts County in fourth. God, and then we've got three left. We've each got three left. So you can see our teams on here.
We've not said this yet, have we?
We haven't said Wrexham, and we haven't said another team that took Wrexham all the way. The S word.
Yeah, it was banned for a while on the podcast. That wasn't it?
It was. So, Rich, let's just do it one by one then. So, in third place, I'll tell you what, I'll go first this time because let's just flip it around a little bit. I've got MK Dons in third, which I know you've got them down in seventh. I'm a little bit worried about that pick, I have to be honest, making that. I like Mo Isa a lot up top. I think he's got that potential to be one of the best attackers in the league. League Two player of the maybe League Two player of the season if MK Don's a third. I've just got a lot of faith in Graham Alexander. The ownership there, they don't want to be hanging around in League Two for long. I think they'll invest heavily, maybe come January. MJ Williams from Bolton in midfield as a kind of number 8. They'll play a 4-3-3, pretty attacking, high press. And I just think they'll be a lot fitter than a lot of the other teams. When you watch Alexander teams, it's all about fitness and stamina, and I think they'll last the course. Because League Two is a long drawn out season. I think MK Dons will be fresher going down the stretch. So I've got MK Dons in third. You, on the other hand, have.
I've got Wrexham.
Wrexham.
I've really toyed with this, and I've had us first, I've had us second, I've basically had us every position. I think once I've even had us miss out on the playoffs.
Wow.
There's so many permutations. I keep on thinking sort of head over heart, and like, what do I actually expect from Wrexham? I mean, anyone who's listened to the podcast knows I'm a pessimist. I don't get too carried away, but I think pre-season and Mullins' injuries has derailed us. I do think that I would be shocked if we went and won the league. I would be shocked, just because I think the quality elsewhere is so vast and so great as well. Which is not a criticism of Wrexham at all. I still think we can get automatic promotion. It's got to be difficult, but I think we can do it. This is a team who know how to win. Didn't lose at all at home last season in any competitions. We can play pretty football. We can play gritty football. We're very effective. We've got a squad of players who most of them are League One, League Two standard already. I know we've only signed one player permanently this summer and kept Ben Foster as well. I think that the nucleus is there. I still think we are maybe one or two signs away from being the title winners, personally, just compared to what everyone else has. And, I still think our team's fantastic. And when we get on a roll, and if we get that forward momentum going, and we get that Fortress Kairas, and we're tough to beat, no one will fancy coming to North Wales to play us. And I know we'll be a bit of a scalp, and I think we'll probably be the most hated of all the teams next season. Bring it on. But yeah, I think we'll finish third. I think it could be rocky in stages. We might have a bit of a bad patch, but I think we'll come good. And when it really matters, this Wrexham team know how to win and have a track record of doing so.
So go on then. Before I get onto my second pick, who's your second place pick? Because it must be somebody different. Because you've already used MK Dons. I had MK Dons. You've got somebody who I've already used. So who is it?
I have got Bradford.
Bradford.
Playoff team last season. Sparky, like you said, Andy Cook, Harry Lewis as well. Nice. I think that they're a team who are just got to build on the foundations of last season, really. And similar to you, I know what you mean, that if it didn't start too well, and maybe Sparky could pay the price, but he's a fantastic manager who shouldn't be in League Two, really. I don't think they're a massive club with... I know that counts for nothing when it comes to how the table's decided, but I do think
that's the thing, Rich. It's dealing with the pressure, because they're always going to be the biggest.
But I think they will have. I think they've not come to terms with it, but I think they've realised, look, we're in League Two again. This is where we are. We're here because we weren't good enough in the other leagues, and we dropped down. And it is an even playing field, and they've sort of realised that it's going to be a case of trying to walk before you can run, and you've got to build things slowly. I think the foundations are there for them. I expect them to be a better team than they were last season. Maybe it will be playoffs again, but I think that they have the possibility of getting automatics. So and I can envisage us having a new rivalry with Bradford. Like you said, the attendance police, all those little stories in between as well. Yeah,
Phil Parky back there, Sparky back at the racecourse. A lot of crossover. Steve Parkin. So you've gone Bradford second. I have got Wrexham, and I'll quickly say why. I had toed and froed Wrexham down in fifth. Wrexham, I've never had us in first. I just don't think I think we're a little bit short.
Have you ever had us missing out on the playoffs?
I haven't had us missing out on the playoffs. I do think I just look at that squad and go, all right, we've got 3 number 1 goalkeepers. I know there's some criticism of Mark Howard, some of Rob Lainton in terms of fitness and form. Ben Foster's going to be the number 1. He looks rare. He's chomping at the bit to play. Centre backs, I think we've got the best collection of centre backs in the league. It's just my opinion.
I think that's overlooked a lot, Nath. I think that when you predict league tables, you can get very distracted by they've got this striker, they've got that striker. The team with the best defence will usually go up. Yeah. Or they'll certainly be there but as long as we're hard to beat, no one's going to be taking points off you.
For example, we could have a second string back three of Aaron Hayden, Jordan Tunnicliffe and Max Cleworth, which would be absolutely fantastic. That would be a lot better than half the teams, in my opinion. If you've got Ben Tozer, Will Boyle, a big fan of Jacob Mendy and Ryan Barnett. I think Barnett's going to have a breakout season. He had a breakout couple of months for us. I think he's going to have a breakout season. My dark horse shout is that he'll make League Two Team of the Year at right back. I think that's my tip. And going forward, I just think Elliot Lee, Andy Cannon, Tom O'Connor, no Mullen's out, but Paul Mullen, Ollie Palmer's an experienced campaigner, Sam Dolby's ascending. And I just think if we're there or thereabouts, we'll have the resources in the summer between now and the end of the window and in January to make that knockout punch move.
If we needed a new big sign, I agree
right,
with you.
You know what I mean? If we get to January and we're there.
You sold it to me. Let's rip up the table. Let's move up 2 places. But
Rich, we've both there's only one team left. You will watching this, you'll know the one team that's not there. We've both got Stockport County winning the league. Before I give my reasons of why that is, why do you think it's going to be the lads over at Edgeley Park that'll be celebrating the league title this season?
Yeah. I mean, they were exceptional last season. They were exceptional the season before. They've not only got that core nucleus, but they've continued to build upon it. Their recruitment maybe unrivaled this summer in terms of League Two teams. They have been fantastic. They've got a lot of positivity, momentum. I think they will have learned a lot from last season's heartache, and that will only spur them on to do better this campaign. They are going to be ruthless, relentless. They're going to be unwavering. They're going to be so difficult for any team to beat. They're going to arguably want it more than anyone else because they came so close and they tasted that defeat and it hurt them so much. And I know you might say, well, every team wants to get promoted, but I do think that they are really going to harness the disappointment of last season, which was still an incredible campaign in their first season back in the Football League. I just think that everything for me points towards Stockport winning the league this season. I think they have just got, like I said, and we said this when they were in National League, they are a season above and ahead of Wrexham as well. So it's no slight on us, it's no slight on the other teams as well, on Notts or maybe even someone like Grimsby, because Stockport started this journey and this forward path a lot sooner than these other teams, and I just think that they are still a year ahead, maybe 6 months ahead of Wrexham, but they are
Rich, I just think they made such a slow start last season trying to incorporate new players, and I just don't see the same happening again. You know, if they'd have started as they finished, I mean, they'd have been comfortably top three. You know,
put it on the Wrexham angle, it's what happened to us last season. We had a slow start in our first post-Hollywood full season, and that effectively cost us the title there because we just started so slow. We were sluggish. We were dropping points. Right. We didn't know our best team for half the season. We didn't have a functioning team really till Ollie Palmer signed in January. Last season, we hit the ground running. We never looked back. I think that'd be the same for Stockport heading into the new campaign. I think they will be the early pace setters, and they'll lead throughout.
With Stockport, they've got a lot of players that I just really like. You know, Will Collar, I think is great. You know, I mean, Akil Wright went there last season at ex-Wrexham. I think was underrated personally at Wrexham. I know he had his critics. Kyle Wootton up front is gangly, is effective. Paddy Madden is a scorer, is a goal scorer. Nick Powell, I mean, Nick Powell could be the best player in the division by a country mile, or he could flame out and be a disaster's probably a bit strong, but I mean, I read a piece by The Athletic that was interviewing Nick Powell, and his mindset seemed unbelievable in the sense that he's at a place where it's local to him. You know, we saw the effect that had on Mullen, just being able to be close to home, the comfort you get out of that. I think Nick Powell will turn out to be a pretty solid signing for them, but just others, you know, Will Collar in particular, every time I watch him, I'm really, really impressed. And like you say, I think, look, we missed out, didn't we, narrowly to Stockport, and it spurred us on massively. We were determined then to go and do it. You see Ollie Palmer in the documentary say, we're going to win promotion, we're going to get out of the league. Well, I would say, and that'll be, you know, we'll be back and forth with Stockport fans all season if our predictions go as we think, and we're going to be right up there. I just think this time you can enjoy it a little bit more. If you're third, great, you're up. If you're in the top 7, you're still in the playoffs. You know, last year it was first, or it's basically bust for us. We were so scared of the playoffs. So that's it. That's our 1-24. Let us know. What do you think? How bad is it going to be? How close are we going to be? Anyone we've got horrendously wrong? Have we got your club way too high, way too low? I bet you never say it's way too high, but have we got you way too low, and why? Let us know. And send all your kind of comments on Twitter or on YouTube or wherever you want to send them. Rich play MK Dons tomorrow is out, and maybe we'll have egg on our face immediately if we lose handsomely to MK Dons. But thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Lots of people are subscribing all the time. Go back and watch the US tour vlogs if you missed it. One with Rob McElhenney is very, very fun. And Rich, we're just going to try and bring as much content as we can, reacting some YouTube exclusive content that's separate to the podcast where we can. And as always,
we said this would be a quick 10-minute video, didn't we? It's been 40 minutes already.
Yeah,
so maybe we'll have to be a bit slicker in the future.
We are.